talked about really this topic with you or anyone else on the show, and it's buying a houseboat. I actually recently was down in Eastlake visiting a friend, and I saw your sign.
Oh, that's
your little
good.
sign on the main drag.
It's not little.
Well,
it's big.
not. It is pretty big. I mean, but it was right there, and I was like, he must be selling a houseboat, and I was thinking, how cool is that? So I know that's what you're going to talk to us about today, because that can't be the typical real estate transaction.
No, it's not. It's totally different. And a lot of time you have to even educate the realtor who's bringing the person in, because they've never dealt with a houseboat either.
Was this your first one?
It was.
Oh, nice. All right. So you probably have plenty to tell us.
Yeah. But I know a lot of agents who've been doing houseboats.
Yeah.
So I interviewed them and talked to them quite a lot before I even went in to list this.
That's great.
We worked on getting the listing right a couple months.
So you didn't end up just winging it. You did your research.
You cannot wing doing a houseboat.
No.
It'll stand out really fast. It'd stand out.
So tell us a little bit about that. You had mentioned when you're buying a houseboat, you're buying a lifestyle. I think a lot of people maybe not from Seattle think of this whole Sleepless in Seattle theme.
Yes, you'll find love on a houseboat. From
if
across
you're
the
single,
country.
buy a houseboat. That's our advice for the day.
Well, one thing that's very uniquely different about it is when you're buying a house, you're buying property. You're buying something the bank can identify, a piece of land.
Yeah.
They can do title report back like 100 years and follow the chronological order and make sure everything's clear so you can buy it. Mm-hmm. There is no title at all with a houseboat. You're not buying land. You're buying basically a boat that's a house that's floating on water.
Yeah.
So you're buying a possession. Mm-hmm. So that right there makes it different.
Kind of like a big car that you live in, almost. Is that comparable?
Yeah, like a big Airstreamer.
Okay.
But it doesn't drive.
A really pretty floating RV that doesn't drive.
Yeah. Another big difference is you've got to figure out your mortgage. Like, are you buying into a co-op who owns the dock itself, or are you just buying the houseboat and everybody there is leasing from someone else who owns the mortgage, the dock? Either way, it's going to be a little bit different. Of course, some people are worried, well, if we don't own the mortgage, someone could kick us off anytime soon. I'd say that's highly doubtful because there's all these houseboats there, and the person who owns the lease to the dock, of course, they're not going to sell it because it's just making them money every month.
No, right.
Yeah, and the leases on it are usually out 30 years, so they're quite long. But a co-op's the nicest way because at least you as a group cooperatively own the dock. Although another thing is when the levels decreased, when they started playing with Lake Washington and putting in everything, Department of National Resources came in and extended a lot of these docks over on Lake Union. So like where my houseboat is, the co-op owns the whole dock except for like the last 10 feet.
Oh, okay.
That's owned by the Department of Natural Resources. So they're signing 30-year leases there, so they're locked in, but then it goes up a little bit every time that it comes up for renewal. They're not, and the Natural Resources, they're not ever going to sell that.
Yeah.
Because it's nice cash flow.
So you have to know about that whole aspect, but know that it probably you won't have to move. Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason for them to move.
Can all the houseboats actually move?
Yes, they can. I actually have a friend who had a brand new houseboat built over in Port Townsend. They had it floated over on a barge, or not on a barge, but, ferried over, and it was actually floating across the sound.
Wow.
So they had to really be careful of when the day it was they were doing it because of winds and waves. And then everybody in front of them on the dock, they all have to be disconnected from sewage and everything, all floated out onto the lake, take out their old one, bring them in, lock them in, and then bring everybody else and lock them in. And they have to pay for all that. But, it's in the bylaws and all that, they can do this as long as they follow the rules.
That sounds like a process.
Yep.
Gosh, well, when it comes to buying, a houseboat, it seems like a lot of things about the real estate process are going to be different. Talk to us a little bit about the inspection process. Gosh, that must be a little different.
Well, yeah. First of all, usually you have your home inspector who's running all over the place and you're with them. Yeah. Well, you got to get a float inspector too. And there's not many of them in the city. Everyone pretty much uses the same company.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine that you're going to find as many as you would a home inspector.
No.
And you're not going to want to use a regular home inspector.
Well, normal home inspectors, they don't do that. It's not their job. Because these guys, they get in full scuba gear, and they have to go under the dock and look at everything and let you know what's going on. Because they're looking at the logs that are on the house. They're looking at the stringers that support the house on top of the logs. They're checking out the dock, everything. So it's a full inspection, but underneath your house.
Yeah. Do they go in? Does anybody go inside the house to look
Oh, yeah.
at it?
You'll still have your regular home inspector. They go in. They do everything above surface.
So you have to have essentially 2 home inspections then? Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. So you said stringers is what the houseboat sits on. Are those something that once you have it, you're done, you're good, your houseboat's
it's like any home. Things need repairs or upgrades every so often. What's interesting is the logs that the houseboats sit on. Those are submerged underwater. As long as those are submerged underwater, they rarely rot. I mean, they'll last hundreds of years. I mean, it's just because they're being preserved. Stringers are like the beams that support the house itself. Those are on top of the logs. Now, the stringers, you need to those are going to be replaced probably about every 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Because they will eventually rot out.
So that sounds like it could be expensive.
Well, hopefully they don't all rot at once. Because you
something
can
like-
have
okay.
a few replaced every so often. So
so it's not something that has to be a complete overhaul. It can be
generally no.
ongoing
Generally,
maintenance.
no.
Okay. Well, I know that probably a houseboat isn't for everyone. We touched a little bit on lifestyle, but it seems like it's smaller living space. There seems like a lot of different things that go along with that.
Right. You learn
decision.
about not storing a lot of junk. It's not good for a hoarder. Not a good lifestyle.
Word to the hoarders, it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
You can't put your extra possessions
But
in the water.
You'd be amazed. Some of these houseboats now that have been upgraded and remodeled, they're like walking into homes.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, the one I was selling had 9-foot ceilings.
Oh, wow.
You know, all wood floors, modern
How many bedrooms
kitchen.
and bathrooms?
Well, that's where you get creative. It had one beautiful large bedroom with a bath attached. And then it had a small bedroom with a little half bath, but above it, there's like a little ladder that went to a sleep loft.
Okay.
So, and then there's another stairway that goes up to the second story, which could be like an office. But again, there, it had like this big window sill, which is also another sleep loft. So you have to look at bedrooms a little differently.
Yeah.
Is how you do it.
Well, it seems like, you obviously have to be creative about space, but if you're someone that likes a lot of square footage, maybe it's not the best decision. I mean, I've seen some bigger ones, but
Yeah.
I don't think there's any 5,000 square foot houseboats out there. Or at least very few.
I know there's some in the 2,000 range,
Okay.
a little over 2,000, but I haven't heard of a 5,000, no. But if you're getting up in that, you're talking 2 million probably, for those homes. I mean, that's what amazes people. People pay so much money for such little square footage.
Yeah.
But it's a unique lifestyle. I mean, it's fun being down there, I'll admit.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. So, I mean, is that something to consider too? If you're interested in houseboats, you got to know it's not going to be cheap to get in or
it
maintain.
can be cheap to get in if you want to get a fixer. I mean, the fixers are selling, but again, you want to make sure you're on a good dock and everything. But like if fixers the last 6 months, some of them are around 400,000.
Okay.
And, they're funky. I mean, real
I've
funky.
seen some of them. I've been down there.
But but they need to be worked on. But then again, it's not as easy to remodel a houseboat like you do a house because you have to go through a whole permit process with the city because, you have to, they're worried about shoreline, everything. So they go over a fine-tooth comb just to get simple things you would think to remodel to get it done.
Absolutely.
And then if you're, sharing mortgage and owner, you got to go through all their rules too.
We're here with Eric Robison, managing broker with Keller Williams. Anything else notable about the houseboat buying process? I ever since I was little, I'm a Seattle native. I've, Lake Union looked at those. That's always something I've wanted to do. I don't know if I ever would, but.
Well, you get used to a little rocking motion where you don't notice it after a while. And your houseboat might list. If you get too many people on it, let's say for 4th of July, it's been known to happen. But, if it lists all the time, again, the same guys that are doing your float inspection, they can come back later and they go under the house and they can kind of readjust everything so that it's level. But they recommend you do that after you get all your furniture and you know exactly where everything's going to be.
On some of these houseboats, if people have actual boats, can they moor them there? Have you ever seen
again, that's all dependent on how wide the spaces are. Where my houseboat is, there's like the whole length is about 45 feet. They can moor a boat right outside their door.
Nice.
But they have to make sure it's not so wide that there's still a 10-foot gap between them and like another boat moored away from them. But you'd be amazed how big the boats are that get and maneuver in those little areas.
That's cool. Well, if you have questions about buying a houseboat, hit Eric up. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, what was that you were going to mention?
Oh.
I'm sorry. I
got to do a little
cut
pitch
Eric
here.
off. I cut Eric off, everybody.
Actually, my houseboat's being filmed tomorrow for CNBC.
Oh, no way. That's super exciting.
Yeah, it's for their show they're calling $1 Million Homes.
Was this $1 million plus listing for the houseboat?
Yes, it
Wow.
was. And they picked this houseboat to be the home they'll feature in Seattle because they go around to different cities to show basically what you can get for $1 million.
Oh, cool. So that airs tomorrow?
No, it's being filmed.
Filmed tomorrow.
It'll be airing the show, they said, the end of June.
Oh, cool.
And then it'll be also on their website and everything.
So you're going to be a TV star?
No, unfortunately, I only get to be there to open the door and make sure everything's okay. I don't get to be in.
Sneak in the camera shots.
Yeah, I'll jump in the background in the water.
Oh, sorry. Didn't know you were filming in this room.